On the safety things, we a lot of people, principals have met with their faculties, we met with Chief Dahl, and we just kind of threw, a lot of things got thrown out. If we were to do this right now, and some of them wouldn't be practical, and some of them, you know, like that's an easy fix, and it's an easy fix if you got this much money, and that type of thing. So we try to look at some of the big items that Chief Dahl talked about. He really thinks it's important that every school have cameras. And we have them in 2 schools. So you know, we looked at that. He really thinks it's important for it to have what's called enunciators on every external door. So if that door opens, some mechanism is to alert the front office that rear A-wing door has just become ajar. It's probably a student that went out that way that shouldn't have, but it's still, that was one of his goals. He talked about SROs in every school. He talked about panic alarms, much like you have in a bank. If someone comes in, and this is sure enough panic, like somebody's here, because police are going to come with guns when you hit this button. So listening to all, I mean, there was a lot of other things, but those were about the 4 big. And so I met with some people, met with the principals, went out and talked about some plans, and we've come up with some ideas. We met with John Hemberg, who does a lot of surveillance and camera work, and we think we can hit 3 of those 4. We can't address the resource officers of every school. I don't know if y'all have heard or not, there was another school shooting today in California. And the school had armed security guards
3
at the school, and they still come in with a gun.
3 guards?
3 guards at the school.
Yeah, there's a guy coming with a shotgun, a student coming with a shotgun and shot a student. And I don't know if he shot the teacher or buckshot got him, but 2 people were injured there. But anyway, so with all, we've been talking about, our schools are going to stay in what I used to call a modified lockdown, which is all interior doors are going to stay closed at all times. We're going to start enforcing the badge system that we've had in place for a while, that we've all gotten lax with it. I don't have mine on. That we want to start doing that. Those are some little things. It's not going to cost anything. Brownwood, for example, that if police officers came in Brownwood and needed to go in every classroom, they'd have to have a keychain like this, because you know the age of the school, and it's just every lock is different. So for about $4,000, we can correct that. And that's not very much money in the big scheme of things. John and I met, we looked at different camera systems, and what we want to do is just the point.
Because we've got a $1 here. You go right
one of the
ahead.
things that we've come up with, and
Let me ask you a question before we go any further. Some security issues are better not known by the general public because they lose their effectiveness. Before you go any further, are you going to get into anything like that?
well, that's what, Mr. Eustace, we get into some philosophy issues on that. You know, is that a true statement? One,
Right.
And it's kind of like the thing, like if a student knows a camera is pointed here, he's not going to go there to smoke. So it's almost a paradigm shift. Traditionally, camera systems are here looking in, and the only thing they're good for is you catch who's smoking, who's fighting, who's picking on who. And this shift, and what I'm talking about, is to come and start looking out this way and who's coming in our building. Can't have both. Well, you could have both, but you're talking about triple systems type thing. So we talked about that exact question earlier. I mean, it's even things, philosophy, like the National Police Foundation, I forget what organization it is. They've issued guidelines what to do in case you encounter a mass shooter. You're involved in a mass shooting. Their first thing is run. Second thing is hide. Third thing is fight back. A lot of things come down about schools, and most people think of schools as being these, like this building. Nelson is kind of an animal of its own. Nelson, you have an opportunity at Nelson to actually lead the school. So do we want to, this is that philosophy thing, do we want to go in that bathroom and try to hide, or walk out that door 2 feet away and run away? And so we've addressed those, we haven't decided those type of things. We've talked about how to tell when somebody's coming in the building, how to notify somebody. That's where we want to go with this next piece that we're doing. And I kind of see it as a progressive. I mean, next year we'll be doing more, and next year we'll be doing more, because everything has got a cost. And we've got an opportunity right now to do something in 3 elementary schools. I'm not counting Brownwood, because Brownwood's going to just a lot of work going on there this summer. It would tear things up. But Mr. Garner, through federal funds, has located about $35,000, $36,000, and I'm not sure if it's Title VI or Title II, but it's some federal money that we can spend for security measures in our elementary schools. You can't do them at the high school and junior high, but in our elementary schools. And so that kind of gets to the next piece on here, that after talking about these safety upgrades, is to ask you to allow me to go forward with doing that. And I can't say it's not costing us any money, because it's costing us federal money, but it's not like, but at some point, out of real money, out of general fund money, we're going to have to spend $35,000, $40,000 on more stuff, because we need high school. We need more things at high school. We know that we've got capability for 48 cameras, but there's 11 that's not hooked up there. And I'm glad I turned around and looked at Tony. The other thing that Tony LaRue and John Henberg and I have talked about is we want these systems that we're talking about getting. They will allow, the police department talks about command centers. If we have an active shooter in a building, they're going to set a command center up somewhere. The camera systems that we're going to put in, they have the capability for the police to hook up and look inside the school. That can happen one of 2 ways, and we want to approach the power board to happen in the second way. But I think that would really put us another step up there, so they could and not only the police department, Dr. Berry, she could look at it on her iPhone. It'd be so small you couldn't see it. But it's.
Can I stop you for a minute? I want to ask Daryl, did you get your question answered?
Yes, as well as they can answer it.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, and I don't really know how to answer that, other than we did talk about it.
Yeah, I have a difference in not sure that I believe one way or the other, but I just know it's an issue.
Yeah, and we're open to. That's what's got to happen. 10 people have got time. We got to kind of shift through ideas. Nobody has the right answer.
Well, yeah, and my thought was, and I'm not sure if this was where Daryl was coming from, is that we have to have this conversation, and we need this information. But do we need this information that you're sharing posted on Facebook? You know, and that's my concern.
Probably, like if you'll look.
Well, yeah, I don't think that would matter. I think we probably need it to be known that we are going to put cameras in all schools.
Are we doing drill? I mean, what are we doing to educate kids that
well, then that,
you know, is there going to be a drill like we have a tornado?
Great question, Ms. Thompson, and I should have approached that. Currently, what we've been doing is we have a lockdown drill once a semester. That and the police are involved. They come in there, they participate in it. We've decided with the principals that we're going to start doing lockdown drills every month, just like we do evacuation. We already do evacuation drills every month and severe weather drills every month. And we're going to start doing the lockdown drills every month. But just from a manpower standpoint with the police officers, we can't do a police involvement on everyone, but we're going to ask them to have at least one a semester to be a full-blown, real intense type of lockdown. We've asked the principals, we're going to have another meeting with them Monday, when they have any kind of drill, to drill it and it'd be important, to stress the importance of it, to talk to their kids about if you see an adult in the school and they don't have a badge on, find a teacher and say there's somebody in the school. And you know, I'm in the schools all the time. They may know who I am, but I still want them to report if they don't have that badge on. So I don't know if that answers your questions, but yes, we want to talk to them about it. Even on buses. We currently do evacuation on buses once a semester. And next Thursday we have a meeting with bus drivers. I don't know where they're gonna go on the bus, so I'm just gonna instruct them to get in the floor. That's the best thing you can do, is just to get in the floor, but talk to the bus driver. There's really nowhere for them to get. But at some point, get on that microphone, and we haven't talked about what words, if we're gonna say gunman, intruder, help, emergency, but some word before they get shot. I mean, God forbid. I mean, but as soon as danger comes, you know, to get some way to notify us. And already today, just been talking about it, a bus driver called me today and said, I've got a black SUV that's followed me for 2 days. And, you know, so she's already been observant about that. And so, you know, I called Greg and, you know, said, see if you can intercept her out on the route, and we missed the car, we didn't get it. But we're gonna, if it's there tomorrow, we're gonna find out who it is. I suspect that it's somebody wanting to see if she's speeding or leaving before she's supposed to or something like that.
Do we have direct contact with 911 off the buses, the bus drivers? Do they have direct contact with anybody at police or anything on any radio frequency?
No.
So if they were to yell for help, who they yelling to help to?
Bus garage.
Okay.
Right, bus garage, yeah. That's another piece of this whole thing, the whole radio. The police department's recently gone over to digital. We're still analog, although we've upgraded our analog. We're gonna have to look at rebuilding or purchasing some radios. My understanding right now that our analog will interface with their digital. I mean, they can pick up our analog, but we can't pick up their digital.
Let me ask you a question about it. Are y'all gonna have to switch to the narrowband? Are y'all gonna change?
We've already done it. They just put the repeater on July Mountain last week.
Yeah, we hadn't already, I was trying to think, you know, you can get radios that have the panic button on, you know, that you get, and it just sets out a signal, and just sets there and repeats it, you know.
And that may be something, these new ones that what we did on our bus radios, when we switched to the narrow band, he just, for like $30 a radio, he just went in and rebuilt them, or whatever, I don't know what they do with it, to make it match that narrow band. But now when we start looking at buying handhelds, I think that's a great idea with what you're saying.
One thing, back to the drills, I don't know that we had ever had a lockdown drill where kids were actually a drill, but they were actually in the lunchroom. And now they're doing that, and they're taking different classes in at different times, so that if your class was in there, this is what you would do. And you know, we've got some schools where if you were in a situation like that, instead of going to a lockdown of the school, you'd go outside. You'd leave that area and go outside, and they're looking at that, and we're doing those kind of things to see what the best thing would be.
Well, that's not just the lunchroom. We discovered through, and I monitor that monthly of when they send them to me, of when they're doing their fire drill, for example. And I noticed that one school does theirs every morning, every time at 8:30. And you know, when I went back, I said, you know, we need to worry about 1:30 fire also.
Yeah.
So we're instructing them to hold these first period, second period, third period. You really avoid lunch over drills. It's just, you can see that. But on lockdown, that's one that we don't need to do. In most schools, the way they're constructed now, unless it's a bomb, a fire, you're going to have plenty of time to get out, in your room type thing. But the lockdown thing, and we know that there is no answer for if you're in the lunchroom and they come in there. There's no answer other than run and hide. I mean, and that's why I would hope everybody stays practical in what we're trying to do. It's just the high school. I mean, you get those windows. It's just.
Well, you can watch it on TV. There's some people doing. I mean, the scale is from A to Z. What different schools are doing, and which one's right or wrong. Nobody knows.
It never happens.
We know that Sandy Hook. I'm sure you got. I mean,
yeah.
According to what everybody is saying, the experts, they did everything perfect, and it was just a determined madman. And but we want to know that, and I think this was Chief Dahl's message to us. Let's not let cost be a reason we don't increase our safety within reason. I mean, that we know that we can't. I mean, they're going to leave a building to get on a bus. You're going to go on a playground. Do we want to go to prison? We don't want to do that. So anyway, This thing that we're doing with cameras and door enunciators and panic buttons is the first step. And so the first step in those schools, there's gonna be some other steps that we have to take. And what Ms. Thompson said is probably the most important one, is education. That's
All right, we're going to move on from here to agenda item number 9, consider superintendent's recommendation regarding safety upgrades.
I'd like to recommend that you approve the safety upgrades at Caldwell, Nelson, and Collins for a cost of a total right now of $35,000. And you have a copy of the recommendation from Tony that outlines more specifically what's in there. I'm not sure that this is something we want to read out, but you have it for your information.
Okay. All right, you've heard the superintendent's recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Any opposed say no. Motion passes.